I just read this article on KSL.com. Space-grown lettuce is safe to eat, says study. Delicious, say astronauts. And there were some very interesting findings in the study they mentioned in this article. And I just wanted to take a few minutes to go over what I thought was interesting in this article with everybody. Now, if you get the chance, I do recommend you go read this article in its entirety because it does speak about the veggie grow system that's used to cultivate these plants in space. But at this time, I want to keep that conversation for a different news story. I'm going to read directly from the article here. The Big Green Test. NASA's biggest concern about growing produce in space was making sure the greens were safe to eat in an environment impacted by radiation. Scientists also wanted to see if the plants developed harmful microbes on the surface, which could be transferred to the astronauts if they ate them. Microbiological testing is part of food safety on Earth, but it didn't yet exist for space plants. So, with these microbes, the article later goes on to say that when the veggie team studied the roots and leaves of the lettuce grown in space, they also found microbes that formed there similar to those that formed on Earth-grown lettuce. This was unexpected because the space station has its own unique set of microbes. Now, here's what they found. The microbes were not bacteria associated with human pathogens, and they didn't detect foodborne pathogens E. coli, Salmonella, and Staphylococcus aureus, which have been associated with some lettuces processed on Earth. The article goes on to say that spores of fungus and mold were also found to be within the normal range that's acceptable for humans to eat based on the produce consumed on Earth. I also wanted to mention this other finding in the article, and I quote, "In some of the experiments between 2014 and 2016, the levels of potassium, sodium, phosphorus, sulfur, and zinc were higher in space station plants than they were on Earth. The same was true of phenolics, found in tomatoes and apples, which have anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, and antiviral properties. Lettuce on Earth and in space had similar levels of antioxidants." All of this information is vital for astronauts trying to use plants grown in space for sustenance and replacing some of these nutrients that are hard to attain through conventional foods. So there you have it. Plants grown in space are safe to eat, and they might even be safer than plants traditionally grown here on Earth using conventional agriculture. Furthermore, the studies show that the nutritional content of the plants grown in space might have higher nutritional density than plants grown with conventional agriculture on Earth. So I think we'll see a lot more coming from space agriculture in the future. So for my next news story, I want to talk more about agriculture in space and some of the grow systems that have been used so far, such as the one on the International Space Station, the Veggie 3 mentioned in this article. And let's talk about some of the first plants grown in space and some of the first flowering plants grown in space. And maybe we'll touch on what's to come in the future. So stay tuned for the next episode of Green Means Grow News, and we're going to have a great time talking about all this interesting plant science. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.